Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Asset investor, and today I wanted to talk to you about how we may never sell Ripple XRP or XRP. By the way, I was going to mention this for what it's worth. The XRP is the digital asset. Ripple is a company that is using XRP, the digital asset, in their particular use case. I put Ripple XRP in the title of YouTube videos more than anything, but for the search engines. It helps you rank higher in the search engine, but that's all that's about. But I wanted to talk to you about how we may never sell our XRP. I was reading Hoder's. I talk about Hoder's blog a lot. It's the xrpcommunity.blog. You can see his blog, and today his blog's called Crypto and XRP Next Generation Money. And I usually like the last couple of paragraphs of his articles the best, where he kind of summarizes and gives you kind of his thought pattern about how big this all really is. And this one was titled Never Sell. And it says, when people ask me, when is your exit point for your XRP investment, I sometimes respond with an answer that they didn't expect. I may not cash out. It sounds counterintuitive, right? What is normal? What is the normal measure of success for the price appreciation of a crypto asset? It's normal considering a rising price denominated in a fiat currency such as the US dollar. And while this one way to measure an investment success, I predict that by the time I reach a point where I'm comfortable parting with my XRP, there will be a myriad of options for me to continue storing my value in the crypto asset of my choice, as well as to spend it on day-to-day needs. Now, right in here is where it gets interesting, and I wanted to read you this next paragraph and then this sentence. This is the dream for crypto assets, to provide an alternative to citizens of the world to store their earned value in a financial instrument of their choice. Technology has enabled the innovation of a trustless, decentralized, no counterparty asset which do not rely on any central authority for management. This is a relief to many of us that have watched as the real value of our national currencies steadily decline over time. In some rare instances, the national currency value has plummeted suddenly, forcing citizens to make hard choices about how to salvage their savings. And this is the sentence I want you to pay attention to. In other cases, their bank accounts have been shaved to pay off central bank debts or negative interest rates introduced. Now, I don't know that he's referring to this exact thing, but I've told you many times about Cyprus. But before I get to that, I did want to pull this article. This is the current economic environment that we're in. That's what this article was written yesterday, and it's Fortune, I believe, Forbes, and it's called "Here's What Could Cause the Next Biggest Crash," and biggest crash in history. And this whole article is about the ridiculous debts of the world, massive debt. They say that this is the U.S. government, $20 trillion. Does not include the unfunded liabilities that those add almost 100 trillion to the U.S. debt. Okay, now they're just talking about the U.S. debt, but the countries around the world are in these debt. We've been told for the last 10 years that we've been in this great stock market and things are getting better and all this, when the truth is they've done nothing but piled debt onto the countries of the world and created an illusion. And I've said that over and over and over. I've also talked to you about Cyprus. Cyprus is one of the most important things that has happened in finance in the last 10 years. And I've shown you this article before from Zero Hedge. This is from 2015. We've all been warned. The Cyprus bail-in model is coming to a country near you. Remember, and I've told you this before, I remember it like it was yesterday, when Hank Paulson got on his knees and begged Nancy Pelosi to do the bailout so that they could have the money to bail out all these banks and everything. And when all of the countries of the world saw that, this is what I say to you. When they all saw those bailouts happen and that they were dependent in what they considered an emergency situation to go to the politicians, and they were dependent on whether the politicians were going to have the guts to do what needed to be done. When all of the countries of the world saw that Cyprus was the only one I know of that did it. But if you go and Google it, read around. Cyprus created what was called a bail-in. And instead of a bailout, they did a bail-in. And a bail-in means that you have a bank account at a bank, and they announce that you're going to have a bank holiday, and they close your bank, and there's nothing you can do about it. They close your bank, and then they literally shave money off of the top of your bank account, take your money. And this was done. And what this article is about is that not only was it done, then there were other articles that I've read that other countries of the world have already put legislation in place so that next time a crisis comes along, they can do a bail-in. Well, all I had ever done was read articles until this past week when I received an email. Now, I received an email from a citizen in Cyprus, okay? Now, I'm not sure the correct way to say this word for a citizen of Cyprus. It's Cypriot or Cypriot, but so I'll probably mangle that, but somebody can correct me in the comments. But I want to read to you. This is an email from an actual citizen in Cyprus that tells you what went on and why digital assets. And this is another one of those instances where it's really nice to be validated by someone who lived it. And so all of this for me was my reading articles, and then I received this email out of nowhere, and it really did hit home, and you should listen very closely because this is interesting. Hi, digital asset investor. My name is TP, and I am a crypto XRP investor and research specialist from Cyprus. I have never sent an email like this before. However, I feel that this is something that will put things into perspective, for both you and the cryptocurrency market overall, hopefully. 1. Cyprus. In your previous videos, you have mentioned the Republic of Cyprus as a prime example of blatant criminality of governments and banks. I remember the days of the panic very well. The images of lines of hundreds of frightened, confused, and raging Cypriot citizens, again, I hope I'm saying that right, Cypriot citizens outside banks, where the doors were locked up shut and the lights were off. I remember traveling abroad and assisting my mother in taking out as much cash as humanly possible from ATMs while we could. The time was disastrous. Not only had we woken up and seen a slash in our personal accounts that we had worked so hard over the years for, we also saw no effort, no information, and no remorse from our government whatsoever. The thing that baffles me the most is not only how were they able to do this legally, but how did the Cypriot people re-elect this man in the previous election in February 2008 for another 5-year term, despite the blatant corruption this administration has broadcasted? It has been made legal by the government to be bailed in by the Cypriot taxpayers in the event of a crash. It doesn't matter how much we screw up, the schmucks will always pick up the tab. He's quoting the politician. No matter how much we screw up, the schmucks will always pick up the tab. It is outrageous, and it gets worse. I suggest you look into what other countries have already implemented this type of backhand legislation already in their constitutions, and I fear this is exactly what will happen with the U.S., as you have already stated, I believe. Number 2, and now he talks about the market. Though Malta is the blockchain island, Cyprus is the FX island practically. Anywhere around the city, you will see a trading company or a financial institution providing various types of assets to trade, various from options, FX, commodities, CFDs, and now cryptocurrency. As many option companies closed down due to regulations, FX companies swiftly emerged. The same companies now are beginning either trading cryptos on their platforms or developing their own coins. The market is spreading rapidly across the world, and for a country like Cyprus, where we saw one of the most open cases of theft, we are also a country that could greatly benefit from an era of digital assets and decentralization. Roger Ver of Bitcoin Cash was in Cyprus recently, meeting with the Cypriot government, where it was then stated Cyprus will begin to accept Bitcoin Cash as a form of payment in approximately 4,000 merchants on the island. This shows how markets are evolving, and it's truly global, even in the countries that most people have never heard of, like Cyprus. We're a small example just to subconsciously remind the citizens of the rest of the world, you are next. The legislations are already written up, and I would not be surprised to see bailouts banned and bail-ins mandatory within the coming years. It is a dangerous action, and it is significant. This information is relayed onto you in the USA, where people will suffer from an economic crisis they have never seen before very soon. To make things worse, this type of bail-in may very well happen to you too. I sincerely hope it does not. I felt the need to contact you in order to say thank you for fundamental contribution to the XRP community. Your channel has spread across the world, much like the crypto market. Please continue the great work, and I will see you in Liechtenstein. Best wishes. I really appreciate that email, and that makes everything that I do here worthwhile. You know, we spend a lot of time when you put yourself out like this. You spend a lot of time being criticized and people trying to be ugly to you and things like that. And I honestly can tell you all that I'm here because I truly believe in everything that I'm telling you. And if I didn't, you would know it, because people can sense things. Every fiber of my being knows, because I was there during that financial crisis. I know what's coming, and I know how digital assets solve the problem that the governments of the world have created for all of the economies. And I know that if the price of a movie ticket should not go from 25 cents to paying 10 or 20 bucks to go to a movie in a few decades. That should not happen, and it would not happen if they weren't running if the governments weren't running money printing machines around the clock. They're destroying our currencies. I want to show you one last thing, and that is, and my son just showed up at home, my little one, so, but I wanted to show you one last thing before I go, and that is, this is what happened after that Cyprus bailout in 2013. Bitcoin prices surged, and this is my theory. When and if that happens, and I think it's just a matter of time, I believe that the digital asset market led by XRP will go crazy. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family. Thanks for listening.